So then I was looking around and I saw some lead hammers, but I've got so many lead hammers that I kind of didn't even think about putting those in my pile. And then I happened to mention, because I saw some chunks of lead. I said, actually, I got quite a few lead hammers. I said, but I wouldn't mind having one of those molds for making you. And the guy said, hey, he said, you know what? I said, I know there's one of those around here. So sure enough, after looking around for a while in the area where he kind of pointed me to, a workbench that was covered with junk, digging around, lo and behold, got myself a hammer mold. So this is kind of an interesting deal here. It's got the ladle, all right, it's got the ladle and the mold all as one casting. And I've actually found these online. This is marked the Chaz H. Field, Providence, Rhode Island, and then there's a 3, so I think this might be for a 3-pound hammer. And the CHAS, I believe, is short for Charles. I believe the gentleman's name was Charles H. Field of Providence, Rhode Island. And this is a cast iron, obviously. And this is a really neat mold. There's still lead in there. So they make like a modern reproduction of this same exact mold that they sell today. But I think this is an early one. And so it's actually got some value as a collectible, but I actually wanted it more for an actual hammer mold. So maybe at some point I'll actually take a shot at trying to pour a hammer. So I'm assuming the ladle is so that you can pour out the excess lead when you're done. Maybe, I don't know. But I got this for $10, which I think is a pretty good deal based on what I've seen these tend to sell for on eBay. I would never pay what they sell for on eBay, but glad about this for $10. So in case I forgot to mention, I just want to talk about these drawers real quick. So when I got there, I had noticed several of these drawers laying around different locations. Some were up on shelves, some were on workbenches, some were just on the floor stacked up. And I thought, oh, that's great. He's got one of these multi-draw storage units somewhere. And come to find out, they absolutely have no idea whatever happened to that unit, if he ever even had it, or if he just for some reason had these drawers. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. I would like to get another one of these because I have one exactly like it. And then I thought about it and I realized, gee, you know what? These are going to end up going to the scrapyard. So I should see if I can get a few of these, because I remembered that on my unit, a few of the drawers had handles that were broken off. So these little handles were broken off. And so when we did the next deal, which ended up being for all of this carbide, which I'll get to in a moment, when we got down to it, I said, hey, could I impose upon you to take a few of these drawers? So he let me take 4 of these, because I couldn't remember how many of mine were broken. So that ended up being great for me, because I ended up being able to fix up my multi-draw unit. So next up, carbide inserts. Ended up coming across carbide inserts. Found a little container with several in it. Then I found a few over here, a few over there. Finally, I put the pile together and I said, well, let's talk carbide inserts. I said, you know, I buy these really cheap in bulk like this, and I don't even know whether or not I'm going to be able to use half of them, which is true. I never really got down to start looking at what I had for holders that would actually take some of these inserts, and B, whether or not, even if I had a holder that would take the insert, whether or not the insert had a practical use for me. Technically speaking, none of these really have a practical use for me. You guys can see my unit's old as the hills. So it doesn't even develop the spindle speeds that really allow you to get the full benefit of carbide, which is speed of time. So why do I like the carbide inserts, even though they're old lathe? Because I like the way they cut, and I can be a complete noob and not know how to grind high-speed steel bits, although I really should know how to grind high-speed steel bits, because there is a place for them, and I understand that also. So, so let's just talk about what I got here. Carbide. I got all of these inserts here, and I got a couple of holders. Now this is a Kennametal holder. This is a KPGR-123 INS, but it says TP32, which I think is the type of insert that we built in. So this one, as you can see, is a short one, and what somebody did is they welded on this extra bar to give it more height. So for some people that might be a problem, but when I look at my big honkin' CA holders, that's not an issue. Ideally, well, actually it looks like I can get that third screw to engage them, so I think there'll be plenty of holding power if I really want to use this holder. And this one, I think this was also Kennametal, judging by the little placard area here, but this is long since gone, peeled off. But it's a DCLNR 204D INS CN43. So this has got more like a diamond shape insert. And this is a big honking insert, that holder that will, well, it looks like maybe just fits this. Yeah. So, there you go. But, then again, as you guys know, I consider my CA tool post holder to be actually a little bit too big for that lathe. Let's say la vie. So, you know, if I end up actually getting a CXA tool post at some point for that lathe, selling off the CA, then, well, then I'm sure this is not going to do me any good. Let's just take a real quick look at what we got here, because I'm probably going to, down the road, I'm probably having to just sit down and start getting a little bit more serious and looking at all of my holders and all of my carbide and seeing what is what, because I'm sure I've got a ton of carbide in here and in my other drawer that, drawers I should say, that is just not going to be of any use to me, and I should really unload it. Yeah, so like some of these look, some of these numbers sound pretty familiar to me. Like this is a TNMG 432, TPGN 322, or TPG 322. These square ones are kind of funky. These are SPG. I don't know what those are. TPG 322s, TPU and TPUN 322. A couple packages of those. CNMG 432. Those, okay, yeah, those are right. Of course, there's only one package of those. Then I got a lot of these here. Look at these here. Wow. SEG 422. These are more of these funky squares. Huh. I don't know. So I'm not gonna bore you guys by looking at every single one of these packages. Didn't want to show you. Oh, I did set these aside. These are funky. There's no marking left on these, so the sticker came off, so I have no idea what these are. It beats me whether or not I can focus in on these things. But these are a small triangle, but they've got almost like a chip breaker built into them. This Ceratip. So, but for the life of me, I don't know what those would fit. Alright, so this next item is really several items that we put together in a lot, and after after I was finished up and ready to leave, we got down to the nitty-gritty and discussed what I would pay for this. So while I was digging around, I kept pulling out pieces of steel here and there, and at first I was like discounting it because they were already doing scrapyard runs and everything, and then it occurred to me, wait a minute, I can pay these guys 4 times what they're going to get at the scrapyard for this stuff, and they're going to make more money, and I'm going to get a good deal on some stock that I might be able to use for projects. So I kind of just started putting stuff aside, and with the exception of a big piece of brass stock that some other guy that came to pick up a Kennedy toolbox while I was there going through stuff, he ended up snagging that. With the exception of that and some hex stock that these guys wanted to hold on to for some reason. They had a use for it, I guess. I ended up getting quite a few pieces that were there. And then I went back. This is actually all in day 1 of my finds there. I ended up going back the following week, and we'll cover that that'll be coming up. I just want to explain why there's 2 lots of steel. Let's take a quick look at what we got here. I don't even know what type of steel this is. If it's free machining, this could be some alloy from hell that the guy brought home from work, and it might be that when I go to turn it, it just is impossible to deal with or whatever. This, because of the color, I thought was aluminum until I went to pick it up. But it's steel. It's some marks with something there, but I can't quite make out what it is. This is just over 2 inch. There's a foot-long hunk of this, 2 inch in diameter. This is 1.25 inches. Had been turned to a sharp point on the end there, I guess to kill a vampire or something. I don't know. A little over 2 feet long though. This piece here is a little over 2 inch in diameter and just over 1 foot long. This piece here is about 4 3/4 inch in diameter, and it's just under, yeah, it's about 5.5 inches tall. That's got some heft to it, I can tell you. This piece was clearly cut off of a larger piece. This is, I guess this would be thick wall tubing, maybe. That's just over 4 inches tall and 5 3/4 inches diameter, with a about a 2 3/8 inch hole through it. This is one of the few pieces of bar stock that I found of any substantial size on this trip. This is 1 inch thick, 2.5 inches wide, and it's 18 inches long. This is a heck of a hunk of something here. Really heavy. Of course, part of the reason why it's so heavy is because it's a 3-inch diameter solid steel piece. There is about 21 inches usable before you get into this area here that, for lack of a better explanation, I think it was torch cut. So this is the mess that's at the end here. It looks like the surface of the moon. I think that was torch cut. So this is just about 2 3/8 OD, and it's just shy of 2 feet. But this is tubing also. I don't know if that would be classified as thin wall or thick wall. But I mean, it's a lot more than just regular pipe, that's for sure. And then the last 2 pieces over here, I don't have them up on the bench because they're actually so long. Just over 1 inch, just over 42 inches long. And this piece here is 43 inches long, and it looks like it's about 2 inch diameter, and that's also solid. These two are both solid steel. So all of that for 30 bucks, I think I did okay. All right, so the last couple items I purchased here were actually in a file cabinet. In the bottom drawer of the metal file cabinet, I found this fixture, and I also found a table that went on a grinder, and the individual didn't even realize that this table belonged to the grinder. Apparently at some point his father had taken that table off the grinder so he could fit the grinder with a different wheel. So that was kind of a nice fortuitous find. as far as the grinder goes, which he offered. I asked him if the grinder was for sale, and he said, well, he was thinking he might keep it, but then again, depending on what I'd be willing to offer. He also had said that he had advertised it on Craigslist. I think he was trying to get like 175. I think he was asking $200 for best offer for this grinder, and he hadn't gotten any interest in it. But I actually kind of passed on the grinder because I didn't want to spend the money. And then later I did some research and realized, it was a pretty nice grinder. But we'll get to that when I get into the stuff that I ended up purchasing when I went back, or the whole story there. But also in that drawer was this, and it caught my eye. It's an interesting looking fixture. This is just a plate of steel that it's bolted down to. I wondered what the heck this was. I had no idea what it was when I first saw it. But then the giveaway is, it's got a name right on here, Hertlein or Hertlein, Hertlein, Mount Vernon, New York. And what this is this is an end mill grinder, end mill grinding fixture, I guess would be the proper way to call it. So this sharp thing that's sticking down right here on this fine adjustment is actually in backwards. This actually should be, all right, it's not going to come out that way. Maybe this whole rod's going to have to come out and be flipped around. But basically, this is supposed to point up, okay? And what we've got, and luckily they were there in the drawer, are these, I guess, collets or arbors, or, for lack of a better term, that actually go in here for holding different sized end mills. And I had no idea what this thing was worth. Of course, he whipped out his phone and started doing a eBay search, and he had found, I think, either on a current or previous auction that somebody was selling one of these for like $200 or something like that. But we both, he was already thinking, yeah, he knows he's not going to get anywhere near that. And I was saying, well, I said, I wouldn't be interested for much. So what we ended up settling on was, I got this for 25 bucks. And actually, I was at 20 and he was at like 30, and we figured we'd split the difference at 25. And then I said, I tell you what, would you throw in this fence, which this table, which I had found in there, and we had determined that this was definitely not for that grinder, that this is for some other grinder apparently or something. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, I was wondering whether or not I could retrofit this for use on either one of my other bench grinders, or maybe even there'd be a way to actually put this to use, maybe not with this bracket, but maybe I could put this to use on one of my belt sanders that's missing a table for the vertical sander. So there is no name or anything markings on this to indicate who makes this, and the casting looks fairly new, so I don't think this is a really old unit. But I basically figure I got this for $5, and I got the grinding jig here for 20 bucks. It also came with these, and then when I researched it after I got home, much to my delight, it turns out that it's actually also got these little removable, almost like bushings, that you could take out. So there's one in here, and then there's one in here, and there's one in here, and there's a big one here, and there's one down this end here. So actually this one might not come, yeah, this one comes out too. So the whole idea is that you've got several different size shanks this can accommodate. So I don't know the first thing about grinding end mills, but there must be a way to index this thing. And then I guess what you do is you'd mount your end mill in here, and then you must use this little rod right here to set the exact position of it, and then this would mount next to your tool grinder, and then when you rotate this lever, there's a camming action that tilts this whole thing in, and it must tilt it in and just enough to come in contact with the grinding wheel, I guess. So I don't know. I have absolutely no idea how to use it, but I do feel confident that it's well worth the 20 bucks that I invested in it. So that may or may not be the deal of the day. And that was the last item I bought on that trip. So hopefully you guys are enjoying these flea market finds types of videos. I certainly like the thrill of the hunt. A lot of the stuff kind of gets stockpiled here, and I may or may not ever get around to using it, but it is fun to get a good deal. So we're going to call it quits right here, and then in the next segment I'll start going through the stuff that I picked up when I went back for this trip number 2 this past week. And I just want to say thanks everybody for watching my videos. Please click the like button, and also if you haven't already done so, if you could subscribe, that'd be great. Take care. I don't like that ending.